Good day and welcome to another episode of Vuvuzela. Today we're going to be discussing repatriation with somebody that has returned to South Africa and got it right, but with a struggle. Welcome, Wayne. How are you?
Good and you, thank you. Good to be back.
I'm sure it's been a while. You were working in Ghana. How long were you there before you decided to come home? Well, wanted to come home.
Well, I think I was there for 2 years, but then obviously with the shutdown, with this whole COVID-19 debacle, the lodge and the reserve I was running in Ghana decided they're going to close for 4 months, which was a decision essentially by myself. So I snookered myself, but at the end of the day, it set in a motion about how to get back to South Africa. Initially, there was a repatriation offered by SAA. They made a lot of promises, saying that there would be a flight coming in from Cuba. I went from the north of Ghana down to Accra and sat in Accra waiting for that particular flight, and then was told no, they're not picking up anyone. It subsequently transpired that their focus wasn't getting those 200 Cuban doctors here. So other means had to be sought. SEME, which is a locally based operator in Johannesburg, started making a number of repatriation flights from various parts of Africa. And that set a ball in motion from pretty much the 5th of May as to how to get back to South Africa. Yes, a lot of people were very frustrated because a date would be set. But then a lot of people didn't actually understand that the countries have their own way of dealing with these things. There's landing rights, there's disembarking, all those type of things, and whether luggage is added. You know, there's a whole lot of things, and they had to get various permissions. So we were delayed a number of times, and when I say we, I mean from Ghana there was probably 25 passengers, and then from Freetown, because this particular trip had Sierra Leone, Freetown, which had a number of people. We actually came back on a full flight. With SEME, and yeah, it took time, but at the end of the day we did come back. SEME I highly recommended in this type of scenario. Yeah, it's tough, not only for passenger but also for operator, and I think at the end of the day the only real issue that was laid on the table was that they had to leave all our luggage, all the Ghanaian luggage, they had to leave in Ghana, but for simple fact that the aeroplane was going to be overloaded. I'm of the view that if an aeroplane's overloaded because of luggage, rather have life than luggage. So yeah, we're going through a process now, which is 2 weeks later, that they're utilizing DHL and actually bringing all our luggage back to South Africa intact. It'll get sent to everyone's homes. So I think the repatriation process, if it's done correctly with DIRCO, I must compliment also the embassy or the High Commission in Ghana, in Accra. They were highly professional in dealing with us. The Deputy High Commissioner, when he heard I was still stranded in the country, because I had met him when we watched the Rugby World Cup together at Labadi Beach in Accra, he immediately remembered me and said, oh, we need to get you out and we'll look at all different means. But those means were not coming because obviously SAA became null and void. So really what transpired is we started looking at SEME because they were doing other routes. They did a route 2 weeks prior to our one, where they could have stopped with us, but they were picking up a lot of people, and it was a long haul destination all the way from Morocco. So I must compliment SEME on this. I mean, they've really pulled out the stops to get us back. Yes, we had a little hiccup with luggage, but so what? You know, luggage is something that will get back to us eventually. But some people are just don't enjoy those type of things.
Wayne, did you get any assistance from the South African government?
Nothing whatsoever. No, that's unfair. From a financial point of view, had we got assistance, the flight would have been a largely reduced rate. Obviously, being a private operator, SEME, they charge their rate based on a full flight, so that we funded independently. But once we landed back in South Africa, we went into a quarantine facility. The quarantine facility was the Birchwood. I must say, arriving at Oliver Tambo was quite an education. The police were there. There was presence when we got off the aircraft. We got put onto shuttle buses. I think I felt like the president at one stage because we had an armed escort all the way to the Birchwood Hotel. The Birchwood Hotel has been made a quarantine facility, highly professional in the way in which they deal with people in quarantine. I was fortunate enough, or a number of us were fortunate enough, that we only spent 5 days in quarantine. We were there 2 days. We had a private testing with Empath, which we paid for. Had we done the government testing, it wouldn't have been paid for. But we had testing done by Empath. Results came through the next morning and we were home the following day. We just got a shuttle service down to Durban. So I found that very professional in the way in which those entities were operated. The police were very accommodating. You know, I think the police get a bit of a bad rap. They were very accommodating and assisting other people that had been given wrong information. But the whole thing was very streamlined at Oliver Tambo. Right from getting our passports stamped back in the buses, armed escort to Birchwood, own room, luxury. And then the only thing is you get a brown paper bag for each meal delivered to your door. They knock on your door, put the bag down, and then it's one notch up above military food. But it was good, you know, very little contact with people. They did temperature tests every day, came to your room, checked on you, had telephone calls from some of the nurses saying, how are you feeling today? Yeah, and so literally 4 days in quarantine was what it was. So I must be very complimentary from a government point of view, because the government also covered the cost of the quarantine. We had an option to go private quarantine, but that would have been an additional cost. When I heard it was the Birchwood, I said, no, well, it's one of the top conference facilities in Joburg. Why bother with funding a different entity?
Wow, what a story. And at least you could draw solace from knowing that it was only going to be for a few days. We've got many South Africans stuck out there with a huge price tag, having to want to come back to this country. So,
well, I think I was fortunate. I mean, I was fortunate that this came along at the right time, because I wasn't even notified, and I was on the database of the High Commission. I wasn't even notified of the SAA repatriation flight, which was like 2 weeks. It was around about the 6th of April, and I wasn't even notified about that. But I was still in the throes of closing down the facility at that particular stage. So I wouldn't have made it out anyway.
Thank you, Wayne, for joining us and sharing your story. I'm sure you've helped a lot of people with maybe some advice on who to go to, where to go, and hopefully they can return.
And I do think at the end of the day, patience is the key. You know, don't get uptight, don't sort of get high on your horses. There's a process, and a lot of these people are doing their utmost, dealing with different governments to try and get you home. And it's very cumbersome. So just exercise patience, that's and tolerance. At the end of the day, I had a good experience, but I've also heard of some terrible experiences.
Thank you, Wayne.
Absolute pleasure.
And to the viewers out there, it's nice to know that there is hope, although it does come with a hefty price tag. Thank you for watching, and remember to follow us on our social media channels and visit our website on www.vuvuzela.co.za. Until next time.